All right, welcome to another edition of Artist Talk on Bob's Radio. My name is Rio Raymond, and in company of me is Harshad Sathe, a very well-known singer-songwriter. But there's also another side to him before he got into the entire music world, sound engineering. There is music production, there's sound engineering. We're going to discuss a lot about all this. And of course, you've been a closet writer, my friend. So, a lot to talk to you about in the world of music. But quickly, let me ask you, what is a sound engineer? I mean, I come from the radio industry, I understand, but just in case if someone is wondering, there's always this confusion. Okay, what is he a sound engineer? What does he do?
So basically, see, there's a source, there's some kind of a sound that happens, right? Now, there is a person who has to capture that source exactly the way it's being heard in that room,
Right,
as truthful and as faithful rather to the source. So there's different things that you have to use the correct mic. You have to use the correct amplification till it goes to the recording medium.
right.
Like now, everything comes to the computer. In the older days, it used to be tapes or discs or whatever. So getting the most faithful reproduction of the source is done by the sound engineer, essentially.
Okay, so without you,
That's
there
why
is
it's called
no
engineering,
wiring.
because yeah, exactly. There's so much of wiring involved. There's so much of technical stuff involved. You have to compress it right. You have to adjust the frequencies. All of that is done by these different machines, and an engineer has to know how to handle them. Basically, that's the reason why that person is called an engineer.
Right. And when we mention sound engineer, for a lot of people who know, there's one institution that comes in the same breath as SAE. Are you also an SAE product?
I am not.
Okay.
No. So when this station is from Bangalore, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I used to study in Bangalore. I used to study aircraft maintenance engineering in Bangalore, in
Okay.
Marthali, at
HAL.
Hindustan Aviation Academy. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So when I was thinking of getting into sound engineering, I had actually gone to SAE used to have this office, or I think it was an institute itself near this thing, near Majestic somewhere, I remember.
Mhm.
So I'd actually gone over there. I went and I saw everything. I saw that they had these bunch of computers and stuff like that. And honestly, I got a bit turned off because I had this whole romantic vision of a studio wherein there would be these large mixers
Ah,
and tape machines and stuff like that. But ACE had these computers and sound cards and stuff like that. So I was like,
where
okay.
have I come?
Yeah. And then later on, when I came to Mumbai, and I thought later on, "Ki, chal, theek hai, I would rather not stay over here for this. I would rather go to Mumbai because they also used to have a branch in Mumbai back
Mhm.
then. So I thought of doing that, but then later on, I talked to some people within the industry who knew, and they're like, they were like, why don't you just join in as an assistant and start working in the studio straight away?
Okay.
So I just joined the studio as an assistant and started working basically.
Man, the reason I even chuckled when you said HAL and aircraft maintenance is one of my very
Uh-huh.
close friends was from the same college and used to be dancing in
Oh,
another dance troupe. I never danced on my college annual day, but I ended up dancing on your college annual day once. So, because they found us dance troupe. But yeah, that's
how
a
far
distant
back?
memory, man. And when you talk about sound engineering in the same breath, you also usually don't hear of sound engineers turning into musicians because they stay caught up behind the scenes and getting things work together. You really
Okay.
don't hear of them doing that. And also writing songs, which you've been doing for the longest time. Where did that transition happen for you?
So as I told you, I started working as an assistant. So I slowly started getting into it. I started actually working on projects as an engineer. Then that realization came, कि चल ठीक है, now for anything to sound like a song, it needs to be arranged properly. So then I started working as a producer. Then I got into the realization that okay, ठीक है, you've arranged everything fabulously and everything it's good, but it needs to have great performances. So then, I mean, I already used to play guitars, but then I started playing guitars as a guitarist also,
Okay.
guitars, bass. And then that realization led me to a point wherein, okay, ठीक है, you first need to have a very well written song,
Okay.
a very well composed song. So it was a journey of self actualization or realization or whatever. And that's what brought me. कि चलो ठीक है, I like to hear certain kind of songs in a certain sonic environment. But for that to happen, a song has to be great in the
Right,
first place. If the song itself is not great, no matter what you do as a producer, as an engineer, it's still not going to sound great.
right. So that was the transition.
Yeah.
And there must have been some spark that should have led you to say, okay, wait, I can do this as well. Because I'm sure you would have been doing it for artists, but for you to decide, I'm also going to become an artist. What was that spark?
There was no spark per se. There was just this realization. There was just this, I wouldn't even call it an epiphany. It was just this realization, ke, okay, theek hai, now I have this piece of music in front of me. Now it's as I said, when I got into the production zone, so basically that's what, okay, theek hai, I got some song to mix. I realized that production is whatever the song requires to be a song in the first place. That chalo theek hai, you write a piece of music, you write the lyrics, you compose it, but then for the song to sound like a song, essentially, there's certain things that need to be done for it.
The programming of
It
the
needs
musical elements.
programming is a part of it, but what it's supposed to be programmed, what kind of groove it needs, what kind of sound it needs, is decided by the producer.
Mm-hmm.
A producer may be a programmer or may not be. That is up to the producer.
Right.
A producer may also bring in some other programmer who does this stuff for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is the role of a producer essentially. So, once I started producing for indie bands, I realized कि चल ठीक है. Now, as I said, like it just the realization happened step by step. There was
Right.
no spark or anything per se. But I just realized कि चल ठीक है, one thing leads to another, and it was a top-down process. कि चल ठीक है, I started from the top, wherein I already had a piece of music entirely recorded and everything done for the mix, and then I went on to the basics.
Oh, okay.
Basically, a song has to be good. That's the root of the entire thing.
So you went
The music.
anti-clockwise than the clockwise process of everything.
Exactly. I went towards it top down.
Right.
And
And uh yeah, go
I
ahead.
used to play guitars in a college band and stuff like that. We had a band in the college. So I used to play guitars, bass. I used to sing for that band. But later on, I got into sound engineering. So that's when I had stopped it.
Uh-huh. Sweet,
Yeah.
man. Now, your transition speaks one, okay. You can understand you're getting into musicality. That's one part of it. As a closet writer, I mean, to write lyrics, that also needs some sort of a background, or maybe you've uh, honed a skill over time. How is that for you? Because it's difficult for anyone to process. Dude, he was a sound engineer. What he know about writing lyrics, and then
Uh,
write for a lot of other bands and artists as well. That's commendable.
Again, it's just like the way we are talking just now, right? Lyrics are just communication, basically. Whatever you want to communicate, the thoughts in your head have to be put down on the paper, and they have to have some sort of rhyme or rhythm so that they fit the tune.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the process for me. I
Okay.
just put down my thoughts on paper, or I put my thoughts down into words which would fit the tune.
Right. Now, when you say you write songs for others, let me ask you this. What are the kind of bands you've written for, or artists you've written for? And was it the thing that you started initially, or okay, maybe after you started getting your songs and you started writing for others?
No, see, more than writing for other bands or other artists, I've worked on commercial jingles and songs for short films and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily for other artists. It was for other commercial uses.
Brands, okay.
Yeah, brands,
All
if you want
right.
to call it that. Yeah,
That makes sense. Like, you in copywriting and that sort of a phase.
exactly. Correct. So making jingles, basically, radio jingles and stuff.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Yeah.
Now we'll dive into Harshad Sathe, the musical journey as we transition from the sound engineer, we cut out the lyricist part as well. So you started off a band called Nisima with a good friend of yours called Sakit Rao, who's a drummer as well,
Yeah.
a music producer. Now, of course, when two people or friends meet in a room with a common interest, you tend to build on that. And in your case was music, and Nisima was given birth then in 2019. What was that journey for you like?
Yeah, I knew Saket since I think 2011 or 12, since he used to play for another band, band called Infidels of Sanity.
Right.
So, eventually he also started working as a session musician, as a session drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to call him for sessions and stuff like that. So essentially, Saket was the most accessible person that I had whose tastes matched mine, essentially, in terms of uh, playing the drums, in terms of arranging a song.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I started writing my own music, I Saket was the first person that I thought of. Okay, chalo, theek hai, let's collaborate with him. Let's see what comes out.
Right.
We started going to jam room and just plugging in our instruments, and we started playing. And yeah, I mean, we just got on together. That's how.
How long did it take you to come out with your first song? Now, there's one more, description I would like to get from you because a lot of people say EPs and albums. We'll break that
Mhm.
down.
Okay.
But for you to come up with your first song, for your first original, how long did it take?
See, the first Nasima EP that we released, I think it was a multilingual EP again. It had two songs in Hindi, one in Marathi, and one in English. So the one that was in Marathi, I had written some 10 years prior to that in 2010,
Wow.
just for myself. Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, I just jammed it out with Saket, and it sounded pretty kick-ass. So I was like, okay, let's do this. Then the other three songs, the two Hindi ones and the English one, we actually jammed to those in the studio. Like studios in we actually my brother has a jam room in Pirangut, which is near Pune, where I have my studio now. So we just went over there and we started playing, and that's how those three songs came about essentially.
okay.
Yeah,
So how long do you think? Because usually there is always this artist block, a creator's block, a writer's block that comes across, right? You wrote that song in 2010, but for you to finish that product, like say the musicality, the production, how long did that take?
yeah, 9 years because we
Oh, you were
recorded that in 2019. Till then, it was only over here.
okay.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you'll had like a good amount of chemistry since you knew him for a long time, so you knew each
yeah,
other's
yeah,
likings and the taste, and then the song
yeah,
came.
yeah.
But
Right.
did you all tour? Did you all go around performing in at venues and stuff as a band?
No, so what happened was this Nisima EP released in July, and as I was thinking of going live and taking it to the venues, the whole COVID thing started.
Right.
I think from November 2019, that whole scare had started, and in 2020, though, any which was everything was shut down.
Yeah.
2020, 2021, nothing was happening. So unfortunately, we did not get to perform that material live.
And it's very sad, especially with the name that you have, Unbound Love, which is what Nisima means. And
Yeah.
you couldn't actually take it to its full potential and show your unbound love to the craft as well, thanks to this COVID
Yeah.
era. But I'm guessing that's the way life is. It just throws challenges at you, and then you got to wake up and move on to the next couple of things. So
Exactly.
during the COVID phase, I'm guessing y'all did release something during the COVID phase.
Yeah. So even during the COVID phase, the lockdown phase, it started releasing a bit from July of 2020, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, Sakiran, as we started going to Pirangut, we just started jamming again. And that's how we came about with our second, I mean, the first full-length Nisaba album, which is like 8 songs. So we came out with that in, I mean, we released that in 2022. And it was again, a lot of songs from those were written in that period from July 2020 to June 2021.
Right.
Yeah, in that while.
And
And then we started working on the production and stuff,
this was completely
recording.
produced by y'all. Y'all didn't go out to a third person because y'all already have the skills of doing it and the means to do it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we did it entirely ourselves.
And how was the response? Like I'm sure you had to put it out on the streaming platforms. How was the response then?
See, response was pretty lukewarm now because, see, essentially both Saket and I are like introverts when it comes to social media and stuff like that. So we aren't really very social people to begin with. Rather, I'm talking to you just now. Saket doesn't even talk as much.
Okay.
He's a super introverted and socially awkward person.
I like the way
I'm
you're
slightly
socially awkward person.
yeah, so I'm slightly better than that. But again, having said that, we neither of us has a lot of social media presence. So that has been my one regret, that I haven't been able to push that music out as much as I should have, as much as
Right.
I could have, just because of my what would you call it? I don't know what to call it, but I'm not a very social person to begin with.
I mean, it's a what do you say? It's a foundation that's been built on over time, and sometimes we need to break that away, especially in today's time. If you have to be out there, putting your craft out there, and the social media is like the biggest ask of every place that you need to be on. So now,
Really.
when did you all decide? Okay, let's part ways. Maybe because you all put it out, you all didn't get a good enough response that you should have got, and
No,
then
no, no.
maybe also was it the case? No.
No, no, it wasn't due to that at all. See,
Okay.
because essentially Nisima was a labor of love.
Right.
I've been working as a sound engineer and a producer. Saket has been working as a session drummer for other people. So essentially, our livelihoods were not attached to Nissim.
Correct.
So it was clear in our mind that we are doing this for our love of music,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and our love of experimentation. So it wasn't the case that chalo show nahi ho rahe, so let's pack it up and go our separate ways. It had nothing to do with that. It's just that Saket had to move to Mumbai because I mean that's where work basically is. Session
Right.
work is Mumbai. It's not as much in Pune. So then once he moved out to Mumbai, I was like, I mean, see, I if I have to write my songs alone, I would rather not be dependent upon somebody else. I would
Correct.
rather do my own. So my album that I released last year, Ghar, in 2023, that was entirely written, produced, everything was done by me, but it was mixed by Saket. And Saket had
Ah,
played drums on it.
nice. So this,
So it's not that entirely split ways or anything. We still work together. It's just that there's no longer Nissim.
so, but it's also because you have, like you said, you mentioned you have your two livelihoods. One is a producer, drummer, and then your sound engineer things. This again comes back. You are out there for each other still, when the need arises, and of course you'll be giving the best to each other at any given point in time.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
coming to the album Ghar, is this because you sat and wrote at home? Because from this conversation I'm having with you, it sounds like you're very chill. I wouldn't say laid back, but a very comfortable person. And like there's one of those people. You have like a bunch of people cracking these wise jokes. So you sound like one of those guys. But is this
Okay.
the name Ghar because you sat and wrote it at home?
No. So what happened was uh, in November 2022, rather from October itself, from early October, we were on a tour of first of Australia and New Zealand, and November was in America. So all that while, in those 2 months, I did not have my guitar with me. So I was missing my guitar like mad during those
Ah,
2 months. And when I went over there, when I saw the whole vibe, like I was touring with Shreya Ghoshal. So all the Indians came to watch the show. And what I noticed was like all the people over there, all the expats have this very innate craving or that built-in
Indian,
love for their country, for their own home.
yeah,
And in spite of being settled over there, like they've been over there for like 2 generations now, they still have this pull which drags them towards their homeland, towards India, towards their ghar. So their ghar essentially is still in India only, in
right.
spite of being settled over there, in spite of being very well employed professions and being very successful in life over there. Their home is still in India. India is still a ghar
That's
for them.
really funny. I know this is away from the musical topic, but I don't mind mentioning this as well. So I had this conversation with someone recently where we were talking about, the way Indians outside India, like we're the largest base of, I mean, people from a country that have spread across the world. So when an
Hmm?
Indian goes to perform somewhere, you tend to hear about their love for the country and this, that, and everything. Then my friend is like, "Why don't you just come back then? Why do you want a livelihood there?" So I'm like, I align with the thought, but I'm sure they have the reasons to stay back.
Yeah, man. I mean, like they get paid about. I mean, a professional who's been working over there for say like 20, 25 years or something. He gets paid about 12 to $15,000 a month over there.
Bro, those are lifestyles. Even if we work for 10 years, we want to reach those numbers. So
Exactly.
we'll not go down that road. We'll come back to the music part of it, where you said, so that's where that feeling kicked in. Okay, this is Ghar, and that's how it happened.
Yeah. So that very innate craving of having a ghar, essentially.
Huh.
That was the foundation of that album, essentially. And if you listen to that song, the third song from the album called Asra,
Uh-huh.
that was the first song, in fact, that I wrote for the album, Asra. So the chorus goes like, आसरा है ये बस ये तो घर है ना मेरा आस तेरी तरसा जाती है.
Uh,
So that's what
maybe
the
not that great,
foundation
but
of
I
it.
can understand. But what's the meaning of Asra?
Asra is a refuge, essentially.
Okay, 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 okay.
Asra is not a home.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a refuge. Okay, okay, we've got a great life over there. So it's a refuge for us. Our ghar is still India. It's that
Oh,
sort of thing.
so this is a dedication to all the NRIs and expats outside of India, Indian expats
Yeah,
outside of India,
yeah. Because that's the vibe that I got from there.
right? And there's one more thing. See, when I go through the song list, it's all one words. Okay, there is Bachta, Vade, Fitrat, Barsat,
बढ़ता चल. The first one is बढ़ता चल.
Badhta Chal. Sorry, my eyesight is taking a beating. Badhta Chal. And when I heard the musicality, I don't know when you mentioned the word ghar, it actually is a sense of belonging. The music is like a sense of, gives you that very homely feel, like you're just sitting at home, watching out of your window and listening. And I kid you not, that's what I felt when I heard the music. So now it
Cool.
all collates together and said, okay, why ghar, how ghar happened, and how this entire thing has come through. But when you tour with someone like Shreya Ghoshal, and you're also a musician now. Have you played this out to her? And if you have, what has she also said?
I don't remember. Oh shit! Now that you mention it, I never sent on. I never. Yeah, I should actually do that. I should send a link for my album to her because she's a super nice human being.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd sent her. I mean, she's listened to my previous stuff that I'd released as singles and stuff like that. But somehow this completely skipped my mind. I
You're
never sent
welcome.
her a link. Thank you so much, man. I'll actually do that. Yeah.
I'm
But
sure
yeah,
I'm
man,
sure
like,
you get great response with this because it was home produced again, one. And
yeah.
it does give you like everything is so homely, home produced, songs about home, and the feeling of just staying at home, missing home. So various factors of that. Now, when you look at this particular set list or a playlist of music, this album of yours called Ghar, do you think somewhere when you listen to it, I'm asking, do you feel somewhere this is something that happens to a lot of indie artists? I didn't get to package the song to its full potential because I didn't have the funds for it. But here you have a friend who can pull that out for you. And sometimes session musicians are needed, so you don't get the entire package coming through. What was your thoughts after you released? Do you think you missed something somewhere?
Honestly, no. I love that entire album. So I don't think I missed on anything. I have
Okay.
no such regrets or residual. I could have done that feelings about that album. I love that the way it is.
And you also mentioned Asra was the first one that you wrote because it was about
Yeah,
the feeling of people outside of India who were feeling back home. Now, when you
yeah.
look at it like this, every song has an emotion, which I figured. And also, it's very stupid of anyone to ask which is your favorite song from your album. But if I were to ask you which song actually means a lot to you and it took a lot more effort to come, like the reasons could be various. What is that one song from your album that stands out for you? Like, it's your closest, not because of a liking, but because there's another story behind it.
Song that I like the most from the album would be uh Barsat.
I'll just give you a high five. I like that too. That gave me like that feeling of just sitting. I mean, of course, I heard it now, and the no rains in Bangalore for the last couple of days, man. It was so hot, and
So,
when I was listening, I was like it was raining in my head, and like when telepathy sort of a thing, and then the next couple of hours it starts raining. So I was like, okay, wow, Basat is my track of Harshad Sathe from your end.
cool.
But what was
But
your reason though?
Sorry.
What was your reason for Barsat? Why is it so close to you?
Yeah, so if you listen to the lyrics of Barsat, they are kind of lopsided. So the lyrics say one thing and the tune says another. So the
Yeah,
lyrics are like रात बरसात क्या लाई थी तेरे सपने सारे टूटे, but the tune is very hopeful. सपने टूटे. So basically, when my niece was born in 2020, uh, like that was the second time I fell in love. I love my niece. And then I started thinking like see, musicians, we are essentially creative people. Like we have imaginations that run wild.
hmm.
So after I came up with this tune, one day I suddenly started thinking now she's going to be an adolescent someday. Now adolescents, teenagers, they are strictly against their parents or their elders.
Rebellious.
Yeah, they are extremely rebellious. Now, what if she falls in love with some person who I hate? The more I tell her to stay away from that person, the more she's going to go towards him or her or whatever. And that's the basis of Barsat essentially.
And exactly like you said, no, the song, I mean, the lyrics say something, and the music is a different feel, right? So I
Yeah.
heard somewhere, wait, Toota Dil, but this Barsat sounds a very happier Barsat song than the lyrics was there. So it was like my I'm stuck in my body is stuck in one place. My mind is reading, like listening to the song. So it's like, oh, this bug can actually make you like freeze for a few things. But well done on the song. Now this album God has done its course. What is the response been like with your friends and even online from wherever you posted this?
See, everybody that who have made it listen to have loved it. The only thing is that, as I told you, I haven't been able to promote it as much because, again, I'm not a very social person. Neither am I a very social media person. So it stayed in that family and friends wala zone only. It
Okay.
hasn't really received much traction from anywhere outside.
This is what I want to ask a lot of musicians. Not every musician, or in fact, a lot of the musicians out there, they may be extroverts, but they don't want to, go out there being in front of social media every single day. And when that's the case, and then there's someone like you who doesn't like to do it at all, like forget you have to do it, you still say, no, I don't want to do it. Now, when you know you have to do this, and you are okay because you have a job, you're doing whatever you have to do, like a sound engineer, but music is a
Yeah,
passion. So for you, music comes across more like, okay, I wanted to create something, I've created. But somewhere, if you, 1 second, okay, this might end in 10, bro. I'll have to just resend you another link.
that's good.
So, for example, for you, this might just be okay. I've finished my album. I'm done with it. I'm happy. I'm content. Somewhere do you have this urge like I wish a lot of people listen to, and for you then you think, okay, if a lot of people have to listen to, then I have to go about doing these things. So how do you take on to these things, because in today's time it's very relevant?
Have you read Fountainhead by Ayn Rand?
No, not yet.
Okay. You know about Ayn Rand, right? Right? You've heard of her, na? So she was a philosopher and she has this philosophy of individualism and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which is a fantastic philosophy. But again, it's great when you just read it. It's very difficult to follow in real life. But Fountainhead had this hero called Howard Rourke who loves building, who is an architect and who likes designing and building what he likes. Essentially, the most logical person that he can, most logical building that he can build for a person, or the most logical design of a building that he can design for a person.
Right.
That's his point of view. So one of his professors, when he's in college, asked him ke, the same question you asked me. Ke, don't you want a lot of people to see your work and appreciate you and get more clients? So I'll give you the answer that he does. So see, basically, I'm not building mausoleums.
Right.
मैं शौक के गाने नहीं लिख रहा हूँ. I'm not writing any sad songs which are only meant to be played during death. I'm writing songs that I love to listen to. I would love it if they go viral and the whole world listens to them.
Uh-huh.
Rather, I'm a performer, I'm an artist, I'm an entertainer, essentially. That is my entire goal. The only thing is that since I'm not a very social media oriented person, I have zero clue regarding how to do it.
Okay. But will you be okay to hire someone? Like a lot of people do hire agencies and people. So will that be okay with you?
I'll be completely open to it. I have
Okay.
no issues at all. Yeah.
Because I know a lot of artist managers who would be keen on helping you push your product out there. Let That's a choice, Harshad, because I talk to a lot of people with regards to this, and sometimes they tell me, how exerting it is for them to be out there on social media day in and day out, and sometimes the craft of the artist also gets a hit. But like they say, it is what is the need of the hour in today's time, and if you can do it, you do it. Otherwise, park yourselves and have fun with whatever you're getting. Be happy with whatever you get. If you want to go that extra mile, that's the way. But in your case, you seem to be content, you're happy. So that's a great sign. Now, what's next in the pipeline for Harshad?
So I'm working on two more songs just now. One of them's almost mixed. That's being mixed by Chinmay Archie, because unfortunately what happened was after I completed the song, I broke my foot, so I wasn't being able to go to the studio, and I just wasn't getting the right mix of it on the headphones. So I just sent it to this friend of mine, friend, what I can call him, friend, philosopher, and guide, my mentor, Chinmay Harshe. So I sent it to him to get his review, and he's like, after a certain point, he said, "This back and forth is getting too much. Just send me the session. I'll mix it for you."
Okay.
So yeah, that song's almost mixed. The other song that I'm working on, I just finished recording the vocals, and now I want to get Bazooki played on it from a friend of mine. But unfortunately,
Suzuki.
oh, fortunately, I mean, good for him. Yeah,
Oh,
he's on a US tour with some other artists. So once he returns on this month end, I'll record the Bazooki, and then even the other song would be done. So those two songs are in pipeline.
look at the kind of circle that you have. You have Saket, who's a session drummer, who's touring around. Then you have Chinmay Harshe, who's also a producer, and he's also touring around. And you're also
Yeah.
touring around with Shreya Ghoshal. Like it needs to go around like this for you to get influenced by different things, and you come back together, put the thoughts together, and talk to these boys. Do you all have a WhatsApp group you'll share ideas with, or you'll just like straight on contact WhatsApp only?
Uh,
You,
yeah,
Saket,
we.
and Chinmay, I'm saying.
So Chinmay and Saket barely even know each other. It's just
Oh,
I'm
okay.
the common them. But yeah, they are like my individual friends, and yeah, I mean, I'm just lucky to have such people who I can rely on.
Now let's say Harshad, let's say tomorrow uh your album does really well, yeah, and you have like a massive following that comes in. I'm not going to ask you, will you still do social media work? Looking at you, I mean, listening to you all this while, I know you don't care, a dime about it. But let's say you have to give up sound engineering and touring across with other artists. What would you do?
See, to tell you honestly, these last few years I've completely stopped taking on studio work.
Okay.
I only take on the live music stuff because honestly, I mean, this might sound very crass, but crass and disrespectful also at the same time. So big, but the kind of music that's coming out these days, I just don't find it very challenging or interesting to listen to. So I just thought, no, I'm just getting bored of it. I would rather work in live music where at least there's performances
Mhm.
happening. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really mind working full time as a touring musician either. That's what I
Oh.
love doing. I love music essentially, and I don't mind working on it in any form, whether as a performer, as an engineer, as a producer. I have fun.
I mean, you're such a fun character. It's so good to take heat from you. But that's not the case with all the artists because I understand the kind of background and things that they go through as well, the things that they have to do to put food on the table, like full-time musicians. But all I'll do
Correct.
is I'll wish you the best, man. Like I hope Ghar goes into everyone's Ghar and makes them, love you, love your music and spread the love across. And it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I think I was trying to
Same,
hold
man.
my grin while I was having a chat with you because you're such a positive character. And I wish you the best for your music, buddy.
Thank you so much, man.
Vibes Radio. The heartbeat of Bangalore.